welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and do you guys remember G4? Not the new G4, but the original G4. I do. I loved that channel growing up. It was my favorite channel. I remember X-Play and Ninja Warrior and Attack of the Show. I can even tell you my favorite Ninja Warrior competitor's name, Shingo Yamamoto. He was the only man to ever compete in every single Sasuke tournament. He started off like working at a gas station in the 90s, and as you watched the show, each year it would progress. He eventually became the manager. I think he finally ended up becoming like the owner of the gas station. He was there so long. I wonder what he's up to now. But eventually, we all know what happened with G4. The rise of YouTube and the declining market for something like that forced it to go the way of the dinosaur. And then for years after that, all we had was YouTube and some G4-esque stuff until rumblings and rumors of a comeback started. I don't know about you, I was hyped. G4 coming back? Alright, I'm down. Well, we know what happened with that too. A mix of bad management, no marketing, playing identity politics, and the cherry on top of a sexism and gaming rant by Frosk. Well, yeah, that died a far quicker and hopefully more painful death than the original iteration. And now some news is in, some interesting little numbers from Bounding into Comics. In an article, Nielsen numbers confirm Comcast's failed G4 revival was the lowest watched television network of 2022. Oh, Machine Gun Kelly is sad. Frosk is sad. Let's go through this. They say the numbers don't lie, and according to the year-end television ratings report from Nielsen, Comcast's quickly shuttered attempt at reviving G4 was, unsurprisingly, an abysmal failure in terms of viewership. Look, we all know why. And no, it wasn't just the sexism and gaming rant. I mean, don't get me wrong. That was hilariously awful and cringeworthy and probably brought the show to its knees faster than it would have otherwise, but it was always going that direction. That's no hyperbole either. As per an overview of the metric analysis agency's findings shared by IndieWire, G4 had the worst primetime audience numbers of all 126 standard cable channels currently offered to American audiences. 126 channels, and G4 was the worst. That's insane. A lot of people didn't even realize that they were still on cable TV. First of all, who still has cable TV? Old people. And that's it. And I'm sure no old people were exactly clamoring for video game related content. Although you would be surprised at how many older people are into gaming nowadays. The point is, who knew it was on regular TV? That was mistake number one, not making it an internet exclusive thing. How bad was G4 2.0's last place finish? During its brief run from November 2021 to October 2022, that's right, it only lasted 11 months, not even a full year, the network managed to pull an average of only 1,000 viewers during the period of 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. every Monday through Friday. Wow. Okay. I'm going to put this in perspective for you guys. If you're watching this and you're subscribed, hopefully you are, pretty please, I have 50-something subscribers. I'm as small as you could possibly be right now, and I have videos with over 1,000 views. That means that this entire network, in this giant warehouse full of production teams and writers and crews and sets, were pulling smaller numbers than some of my videos. What? I mean, I know they're talking about TV viewers and not their YouTube views or anything, but that's still incredibly small. For comparison, the other network which debuted this year alongside G4, the telenovela dedicated Gallant Novelas, TL Novelas, came in 114th with 15,000 average viewers. Okay, I have no idea what I just said. It sounded kind of foreign. Maybe it's not, I don't know. But the point is, this channel debuted this year just like G4. Or maybe it debuted in 2021, I guess, with G4. And it was whatever 15 tupling times its viewers were. And it didn't have a built-in audience, I assume. G4 had a built-in legacy audience, people that wanted it to come back. This is just a brand new channel. So even the original fans didn't show up to support this when this brand new channel was able to grow 15,000 viewers a day. Oh my goodness, I don't know if that goes to show how good this channel is, or just how sad and limping to the barn G4 was from the get-go. Just above G4 in the ratings were the outdoor hunting-oriented network Pursuit Channel, which ranked 125 with 2,000 average primetime viewers. Yeah, so a channel about hunting and outdoor stuff, things that a lot of people probably couldn't even feel like they could do this past couple of years because of the pandemic. Regardless of what you think on that, that mentality and that sentiment was out there. That got double the viewers. And the foreign MENA region sports network beIN Sports, which ranked 124, with 3,000 average primetime viewers. So yeah, a sports channel was tripling the views, but not ESPN, but no, some unknown foreign sports channel. That means there were 3 times the people wanting to watch something like curling or luge over video game coverage. The video game network was also beat out by Comedy.tv, which came in at 121 with 4,000 viewers, a channel dedicated to clips from various stand-up comedy acts, and Clio TV at 116 with 12,000 viewers, whose programming is made solely for the demographic of younger black women. That's a pretty narrow audience. I'm not saying that to be rude or anything, but think about that. Hold on. Solely for the demographic of younger black women. That means you've put 3 restrictions on your audience: young, black, and female. So you have to have young people watching, but those young people have to be black. So already you're cutting down a huge market because only young people are watching. Then of those young people, they've got to be black. Then of those young black people, you're cutting it again by having them be female. You're getting 12 times the views with that narrow of a demographic. That is insane. I mean, that just goes to show you how G4 failed its marketing, because video games don't have issues like that. You don't have to be young to enjoy video games. I know I made the joke earlier about old people, but you don't have to be young to enjoy video games. You definitely don't have to be of any sort of ethnicity to enjoy video games, and you certainly don't have to be male or female or whatever any of that stuff in the middle is if you would believe in that. Video games are for everyone. So when you've got a network that literally has such a niche demographic of young black women, and it's 12 times the audience viewing of a product that technically should be for any demographic, that is astounding. I mean, you can't blame that on a sexism and gaming rant. No, at that point, it's just marketing and bad decisions, and maybe some political ideology stuff thrown in there. Yeah, absolutely, alienating your fan base, but not to that extent. To put G4's disastrous performance into further perspective, the top 3 most watched cable networks were MSNBC, gross, but I can understand why, with 1.2 million viewers, ESPN, which I won't lie, I figured would be number 1, with 1.915 million viewers, and, Fox News, with 2.330 million viewers. Didn't expect Fox News to be number 1. I mean, you would think if that was the case, the red wave would have gone more their way, but alright. While many will understandably rush to cite former X-Play host Indiana Frost Black's now infamous sexism and gaming rant as the reason for the network's failure to capture any sort of audience, it should be noted that while her identity politics-laden screed was undoubtedly a major factor in this regard, the writing was on the wall for G4 before it even returned to air. Yeah, like I said, G4 was probably going to fail no matter what, and I'll break down why in a bit. But man, I do genuinely believe her sexism and gaming rant brought the guillotine down way faster than anybody else saw coming. Oh, look at Knight's bald seal man, Adam Sessler. The guy that said that any of his conservative family members can choke and die while he drinks champagne or something to that effect. Just an unhinged, deranged man who I used to love. I remember when he went on, I think it was on Fox News, and argued with them against, how video games don't cause violence and how they were fear-mongering video games. Oh, what a fall from grace. As explained by Bounding Into Comics' own Jacob Smith in the immediate aftermath of G4's second collapse, even aside from its abysmal choice in hosts, the odds of success for G4 in 2022 were even worse than they were in the late 2000s, thanks to one simple factor: the internet. Yeah, exactly. When you've got YouTube, when you've got Twitch, and you've got individuals of nerdy persuasions doing this in their own basement. Like, look at Scott the Woz, who did work for G4 eventually, probably in a desperate attempt to save the channel. They tried to hire him. Same with Gerard, the completionist. When you've got these individuals doing this, at least in Scott DeWaz's case, what basically looks like his own bedroom, making quality content, getting millions of views, you don't need a cable network that seems corporate and much less personal. It just wasn't going to work if you were doing it that way. With outlets like YouTube and Twitch, what I just said, allowing for regular players to make Let's Plays, cover gaming news, and entertain with original content, said Smith. Likewise, esports has brought a significant rise to both popularity and public support of multiplayer games. What was once considered niche now has become mainstream, so much so that the market has become somewhat saturated, he wrote. So in this environment, how could a network that struggled to find an audience 12 years ago effectively endear itself to viewers today? Alright, well, I do think there's a way, but I'll go over that in a bit. Well, we now know the answer to this question, Smith concluded. His analysis, they couldn't. Alright, so that's the end of that article. But I think there is a little bit more to this. I think G4 could have worked. It already did have some good things going for it. At least it looked to have good things going for it before we actually saw what would happen. With Kevin Pereira, Blair Herter, and Adam Sessler coming back, all original names. So I wonder they didn't bring Chris Gore back, but maybe we'll touch on that in a minute. But anyway, by bringing them back, you've got name recognition from the past. Names to bring in old fans like myself. Which leads to my next point. You have a built-in fan base. Nostalgia is selling right now. Why do you think they're remaking all these video games and rebooting all these franchises? Because people know nostalgia sells. So you've got an old TV network that people long for, that have pined for, that they have memories of. Nostalgia sells, let's bring this back. There's already a bunch of gaming content out there. We know nerd stuff sells. Nerds are in right now. Look at the MCU. We know that nostalgia sells. We know reboots are happening. On paper, it seemed like it would work, and I do think it could have. But they didn't market it properly. They didn't change enough. They let identity politics ooze out of every orifice. And they came off as corporate and disingenuous. Like, the way they should have brought G4 back, first of all, was as an internet-only thing. It did not need to be a cable channel. Second, you gotta listen to your audience. If your audience wants XYZ, well, they're the paying customer. Well, maybe not paying. We all know what Frost said.
And we enjoy the fact that people are working hard to make free content for you.
But, streamers get super chats, and obviously there's ad revenue. But it's not a sustainable business model if you're paying thousands upon thousands of dollars for all the studio space and paying 40, 50 people behind the scenes as writers. No, G4 should have been a small, maybe 10-person operation in a cozy yet inviting camera environment, and it shouldn't have tried to redo what X-Play and Attack of the Show did in the past. Really, it should have been G4 in name only. We know of the concept of a spiritual successor or spiritual reboot. I'll use video games as an example since G4 was all about gaming. BioShock is a spiritual successor or a spiritual sequel to System Shock 2. As bad as it is, the Callisto Protocol is a spiritual successor or spiritual sequel to Dead Space. What we should have gotten was a spiritual sequel to G4, but still just called G4 for brand recognition and nostalgia points. I guess we already have that, though, with what YouTube has become and what Twitch has become. I don't know. I think there's a way to make it work. I think that there are ingredients here that could make for a brilliant stew, but instead, you gave us burned water pot roast. Well, that's all I've got to say about G4. I'm happy they failed, and I hope Frost falls into obscurity. But what about you? Let me know in the comments below. What are your favorite memories of the original G4? What did you think about this G4? Did it actually have some things going for it that I missed, or was it doomed from the start like this article says? Let me know in the comments, or hit me up on Twitter at BoltTheWord and tell me there. Also, please subscribe to my channel, because I have really been working on building it, and it would mean the world to me. Other than that, I'll see you next time on Words of Paradise.